Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the Vampire Diaries episode 3. So, you may notice we're out here. Yeah. I'm gonna put it very simply here. I got some free time here. It's just, I have availability to record right now and record out here, so I'm taking it. I'm taking it. We're gonna get on this. Now, the first episode of the Vampire Diaries impressed me. It was definitely a lot better than I was expecting. The second episode kind of took a step back for me. It wasn't like terrible, but it was definitely nowhere near as good as episode 1. And I don't know, it didn't feel like it tried as hard to actually, like, you know, be good. It fell into a lot more traps and got a little more cliche for me, I guess you could say. But here we're with episode 3, and I guess we're gonna find out what happened to the blonde girl. She was with Damon and he bit her. Is she gonna turn? Is she just gonna be hospitalized like the other girl? What's gonna happen here? On top of that, we just have like the relationship between our leads just kind of like they pretended to like stop it. Like the show's like, oh, this isn't working, let's take a step back. It's like, no, you're just gonna get back together by the end of the episode. And it's like, yeah, they did. And it's like, but hopefully with that out of the way, things go a little better there. Damon and Stefan are at each other's throats, figuratively and possibly literally. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'm kind of at this point thinking I'm going to set an ultimatum. I'm thinking that by episode 5, I'm going to determine whether or not, well, by the end of episode 5, after I finish recording that, I'm going to determine by that point whether or not I feel like I want to keep going with this show. I feel like by that point I'll have fully determined whether or not this is for me and whether or not I feel like I want to put forth time and effort into it, you know? Now, you may have noticed the other day I put up a poll, and this is important. This is not related to the reaction series, but this is something important that I have to talk about. You may notice I put up a poll regarding things, and because this is not normal. Me being able to record out here right now is not going to be like a normal, consistent occurrence. So I put up a poll saying, like, what should I do with changing it? I put up a few options, like a temporary solution, since just recording the way I recorded for some other things, sitting on my bed like that wasn't going to work. I put up a few options, like I could just cut down my reactions per week. I could record with no face cam, or record in a much less professional position with face cam, basically. That poll is still going on through this weekend. So if you have not voted on it, please do. There's a video that's called "Please respond to this video." That's important. It gives more information on all of these choices. Please check that out, and then, like, you know, vote on the poll and everything if you haven't yet, because while it's only going to be temporary, it's going to affect the immediate future of the channel. So it's definitely something that needs to be figured out by the end of this weekend. because just it's something that I need to take care of if we're going to keep this channel continuously going. So let me know, and hopefully it won't even last that long anyway, but let me know, and we'll kind of go from there. But in the meantime, let's get on with this episode, see what we have in store for episode 3. Hopefully it's going to be better. But this series like has like, I don't know, like 7 seasons or something like that. And it's just like, I really feel like it needs to ramp up to get me interested when it has like 7 seasons or so. Because like right now it's just kind of okay. But again, I'm giving it up to the end of episode 5. So we have this episode and then 2 more after this. Plenty of time. I think that's a fair amount of episodes to give it a shot. So let's get into this. Hope for the best. When the screen fades black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this series has been very back and forth for me. I'm kind of... I don't know what to think about it. Because that could be a bad thing for sure, but it could also be a good thing. It could lead to more good or more bad. So this episode was the best one yet, unquestionably. Like the first episode, it notably impressed me. And it's just like, it's weird that the second episode was just so ridiculously less than both of these. But it's like, again, as I stated last time, shows have bad episodes. Every show has bad episodes. Even my favorite shows, like even One Piece, my favorite show of all time, my favorite piece of media of all time, has some episodes that just aren't as good. It's just how it is. Every show is going to be like that. And this show would obviously be no exception. And the fact that 2 out of 3 episodes we've watched so far are good, that's promising. But if it goes back to the next episode being weaker again, that's going to be a little concerning, because if it's just kind of back and forth, it's like, that's not necessarily a great sign. It would make it almost seem inconsistent. But let's talk about this. So, this episode did a few specific things really right for me, and the rest of it was just blanket good, just generally good. But there's specifically a few things I want to touch on, that I want to talk about. Everything else just I consider, again, good. So let's actually focus on talking about these few things. First off, Damon. Damon is a character who in the first couple episodes I saw as kind of like this generic teen drama villain. Like, he's just an asshole for the sake of being an asshole, and he just felt very forced in a way. But I don't know whether it's through the writing or the actor, or even, honestly, probably both. This episode literally, like, humanized him in a way that made him a much more engaging character. The scene with him talking about Catherine with Elena while they were at the sink washing the dishes, and you see Damon talk about how she perished in a fire, and it's made clear that he loved and he dated Catherine as well. It's like, already that's really interesting. That's already character development. It's already build up. But then when Elena points out that he lost her too, and she shows genuine care for him over that she genuinely feels sorry about him having lost Catherine as well. His reaction says everything. And the actor, again, he does a phenomenal job at expressing this. Like, he actually really expressed this well in his reaction, in his facial expression, in his body language, just generally, the way he, like, kind of, how would I put it? The way he kind of, like, his body relaxed itself as if he felt like he could open up around her almost. He was very much caught off guard by that, and he genuinely seemed to really, really, like, emote about it. Like, it definitely hit him hard. You could tell that. And I think that there might be a love triangle coming. It's weird to think about, like, with only 3 episodes, but I think that might be where it ends up going. Because there's definitely some signs here that he might be interested in her. But then we get later on in the episode, like, we see Stefan confront Damon about his humanity and saying, like, you still have to have humanity in you. And he brings up all these different reasons, and you can see it actually kind of starts to get to him a little bit. You can see Damon actually starts to, like, hesitate and everything. Again, with the expressions and the body language, the actor really does a good job. Like, his performance in this episode is, like, so many leagues better than the first 2. It's almost hard to believe it's the same actor. It's like he just, like, went from 0 to 100 in acting ability in literally 1 episode's time. And it's like, what happened? Maybe that was intentional. Maybe, like, he was supposed to make Damon look so one note and one-dimensional and everything in the first couple episodes so that it would be a bigger deal when he's kind of in this 3rd episode revealed to have humanity still. And it was very obvious that Damon only attacked the teacher, the coach, because Stefan had called him out. He had no reason to attack the coach. There was literally no reason to do that. It doesn't even help his entire, like, motivations and plans and everything he's doing. It doesn't make sense for him to attack the coach. He did it specifically because Stefan called him out. He did it specifically because Stefan said, you have humanity left in you. He wanted to prove it wrong. Because I think Damon is afraid of that humanity. I don't know the entire reason why. Maybe part of it is anger for Catherine's death, and part of that is because maybe he blames Stefan for it. But it's very clear that he does still love her. Even all these years after her death, he still loves Catherine. And he still misses her. So it's like, it's very clear that there's a lot more to his character that's going to be explored. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think it's pretty clear that Damon's not going to be a bad guy forever. He's going to become a good guy. whether through necessity from an even bigger villain, or just he ends up getting redeemed because Elena, probably. So I really, really love what was done with Damon in this episode. The second thing I want to focus on is Bonnie. So we've had this built up in the first couple episodes. Bonnie is having kind of these oracle-like visions, you could say. She's able to see things before they happen. And it's usually these small little hints of things, like the numbers that we saw in this episode, hinting at what was going to happen with the attack on the coach. But she also was able to see like kind of this feeling of, not really see, but feel this feeling of death on Stefan and everything, and other examples of this throughout these episodes. And in this episode, like, we get more on like her family's history as like descended from witches and everything, like from specifically Salem witches. And I really, really like the moment where Stefan actually wins her over by saying like Salem witches are like a symbol of individuality, or whatever he said exactly. And it's like, yeah, kind of. You're not wrong. It was actually just, it was a really satisfying, almost, not even almost, just straight up empowering moment. It felt really cool. And you felt Bonnie's like empowerment in that. So I really like that as well. And I'm continuing to like these moments where Stefan outsmarts the teacher. We're probably not going to get many more of those going forward, just because the teacher's been attacked and everything. And I just don't see it happening much more. Like, this seems like something that's like an early episode kind of like running gag. But these have been really funny. Like, this little showdown they had in class, like the teacher naming all these historical events and Stefan responding perfectly with each one on the year, or in the case of the war, the years they took place, and the teacher actually getting it wrong while Stefan got it right was really satisfying, because this teacher is a fucking asshole. And it's like, he's so despisable. He's such a piece of shit. Like, just the way he spoke to the ant in last episode is like, it's just instantly a fuck you moment for him. It's like he kind of got what was coming to him in this episode. Even if technically he didn't quite deserve that, obviously. No one really deserves that. To be attacked by a vampire. It's hard to kind of deserve that, unless you are like the worst, like the scummiest scum. And he's not quite that bad. He could be a lot worse. But it's still super satisfying to see him get owned by Stefan. And so that's like just a really fun moment. Also, even though it was not stated in this episode, the concept of thralls is brought up, and this is something I'm actually really interested in, and how they portray this here. Because it's very clear that Caroline is acting as a thrall for Damon. When she woke up in the cold open and everything, she was absolutely mortified. She was terrified by everything. She was scared shitless of Damon. She was screaming. She was attacking him because he attacked her. And then he like went to go at her again, and the next we see of her, she's rolling in with Damon, kissing him, and just all fine and dandy, though a little more aggro than normal. Like, did you notice that? Like, Caroline was actually a lot more bitchy in this episode. Definitely giving me almost kind of Damon vibes. she was a lot more bitchy and even like, I don't know how to put it, like annoying, I guess, in this episode than normal. Like, yeah, she's always been kind of this the snarky, self-absorbed popular girl, of course. Like that's kind of her archetype. But it's like she was more so in this episode than she was in the first two. And that's probably due to Damon. What I'm thinking happened, based on the evidence we've gotten, is that Damon has made her his thrall, to where she is completely infatuated and servile towards him. But it's not 100%, because as we see, like, he actually had to hypnotize her separately to get her to leave to go help with the dishes while he wanted to talk to Stefan. That was something that went so against her natural character that it was something he had to actively, like, interfere on still. But the fact that she is like this is like she's basically become his thrall. If I look it up here, I can give you like a more specific definition, but basically the idea is a thrall is a servant of a vampire who is hypnotically, supernaturally compelled to serve them. It is not by choice, and it is not natural in any means. Vampires can usually have multiple thralls. Just depends on, I guess, the mythology and the specific story and whatnot. So I'm wondering exactly how that's going to work here. I assume a vampire could have multiple thralls here. The like dictionary level definition of thrall is the state of being in someone's power or having great power over someone. Basically the same basic thing. So the idea would be that you're within like a vampire's power. They have control over you. If I look this up here. In case of the Elder Scrolls, because that's what instantly popped up on here. You can't see it because of the screen and everything, but vampire thralls are beings that are forcibly under the control of a vampire and thus possess no free will of their own. They will attack any person or creature which isn't of the same kind or a vampire, including the Dragonborn on sight in case of Elder Scrolls. But that's a general description of what a vampire thrall is. They are forcibly under the control of a vampire, possess no free will, or at least almost no free will, again, depending on the story. And they will serve the vampire and attack anyone who is against them. And again, it usually depends on the media as to how they become a thrall. Like, you can feed on the blood of the vampire specifically, or I guess the vampire can force feed you their blood. But it's basically a servant, a forced servant. So yeah, I definitely think that's what they're going for here, and I really enjoy that. And again, we're getting more information on Catherine as well, and this is something that's really been building up, and I think it's going to come to a head for sure by the end of this season. But I don't know. I don't know how this series is going to work with all of that. But either way, yeah, this episode was actually really good. Definitely the best episode of the series so far. I'm still giving it till episode 5 at the moment to determine whether or not this is a show I want to continue past that. But this is at least a good sign. This is at least a good sign. So we'll see. We'll take it kind of as it goes. I think each season of this has like 22 episodes or something like that. It's something in that kind of vein. It's like 20 something. It's early 20s. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully the episodes continue to be this good or even better. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. Tell me in the comments below, what did you think of episode 3 of Vampire Diaries, and thank you so much. So for now, just as a reminder, this is not necessarily going to be a permanent solution or anything with things how they are. Again, go once again, check out that video called Please Respond to This Video. Vote on the poll in the community tab. The gist of it all is that we might have to figure out something new for how reactions are going to be done for the immediate future. But yeah, let me know down there. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.